Hey, today I'm here to talk to you about 10 things I would do differently if I was leaving my job to travel the world today. If you're new here, I'm Roshida Dowe, and on this channel, I talk about career breaks, I talk about living in Mexico, I talk about a lot of stuff. But most of it comes back to the time that I got laid off and I decided instead of looking for another job, I was going to take my time and travel the world and then figure out what I was going to do later. And so today's video is about the things I would do differently if I was going to do it all over again. Now, when I took my career break, I was laid off. So I didn't really have a lot of choice around the timing. But the number one thing I would tell you if you're planning to take a career break is to time it right. You don't want to leave money on the table at work. So if you have a bonus coming up, and it's not like 9 months from now, right? Like if you're looking at the end of a year, but you've got a bonus coming in 3 months, if it's not going to be too much stress on your mental health, try to stick around for those 3 months and stay until you get your bonus. And speaking of not leaving things on the table, I strongly recommend reading your employee manual and seeing what perks are available for you. Now, before I got laid off, I went and I got my eggs frozen because my company would pay for it. These eggs just sitting around, y'all. I'm not doing nothing with them. I got no plans for it. I literally, the doctor was like, okay, so why do you want to get your eggs frozen? And I was like, because they'll pay for it. Literally the only thing. I was like, I don't have plans. I don't know what I'm doing, but maybe I will want this in the future. And if you'll pay for it now, boom, bam, perfect. Randomly, though, there were other things like money that was on a transit card that came out of my salary. I put money on a transit card pre-tax while I was at my employer. And when I left, that money, poof, Pam, went into the ether, disappeared. I've never seen it again. And I talked to the HR person, and she was like, "Oh, you didn't read that in the employee manual, and that was going to go away? Oh well." And I was like, "Girl, come on." So I definitely am an advocate of reading your employee manual and seeing everything in there and getting everything you can get that you want. You're not going to want everything, right? But anything you can get that you want, you earned it already, right? You have worked for it. Don't let it slip away. Get it now. All right. So now for the actual career break experience itself. One of the things I would do is I would be more intentional about planning around the best and worst times to be in the city. For example, I was in Chiang Mai in spring. Lovely, beautiful, great, loved it. I didn't know that burning season was a thing. And what that means is in some parts of Thailand, they burn last year's fields, they burn the crops from last year, and everything left over to clear way for this year's plantings. So, what that means when you're there is that the air is like, the worst quality air I've ever lived in. I don't have any breathing problems, and so I was okay. But I know a lot of people who leave the city during that time because the air is so bad. But burning season was also right before Songkran, which is one of the like most. It's their water festival. It was a super fun time to be in the city, and so I could have come a couple weeks later and missed burning season and been there for the water festival, and it would have been a really great time. So I think I've done a little bit more research about when to be in these places and when not to be. All right. Another thing I would do differently is I would totally take it slower. I went to too many cities and I didn't have enough time. So in my year, 12 months, I went to over 44 cities and I think it was like 23 countries. Don't do that. I say this all the time when I help people plan their career breaks. Slow it down. Try to limit yourself to like one home base city a month. So if you want to go to a country, um, say you want to go to Thailand, you want to go to Chiang Mai, you want to make Chiang Mai your base for a month, but you also want to go to Bangkok, maybe make Bangkok a weekend trip or a 5 day trip with Chiang Mai still as your home base. So you're not packing up and moving stuff and checking into new Airbnb and bringing all your stuff with you every few days. That's what I was doing every week or so, putting all my stuff in a bag, checking out of one place and checking into another place. And not only did the travel days ate up a lot of my experience days, right? Because I was always on a plane, on a bus, on a train, heading somewhere else. but it also was really exhausting. Like it made me not want to do it anymore because I was doing too much. And I wasn't really relaxing the way I had thought it was going to be relaxing. Number five on my what would I do differently plan is I would figure out my money plan. I sort of the overall plan. So, how will I make money on during this time? How much will my new life cost? So, if I'm on a career break, am I doing really intentional work about creating a budget? Will I have room to continue saving and investing? And then also, like, what savings and investing products do I want to use in my future? When I left on my career break, I was just like, this is my budget per month. This is how much I want to spend per month. Let's make it happen. Instead, one of the things I could have done is I could have done research ahead of time about what budgets are realistic for the cities I was going to have a better idea of what things would actually look like instead of saying, like, this is what you got to spend each month. Now, trust me that this is what you have to spend each month that works too, right? Because you can adjust where you're going, how long you're in places, et cetera, based on the budget you have. But having more information about cost of living for places would have been really helpful. Now, I like using the earthawaits.com for my budgeting. The earthawaits.com and numbeo.com are my favorite budgeting tools for cities around the country. So I'll link to them in the description. Another thing I would do differently now is to plan around one or two specific events around the world. Are there festivals you want to attend? Are there local events that you think are important and are kind of culturally significant to you in any way? I definitely would have planned more of like being in one city at a specific time to experience one thing instead of just kind of going wherever the wind blew me, which I really loved at the time. But looking back now, it's one of a few things I would change. I would be like, okay, if I'm going to go to these cities anyway, is there anything that I want to do in these cities that will reorder the plan of where I'm going and what I'm doing? Everything I would do on my break, if I was redoing it now, is I would give myself permission to do whatever I want and to not do anything I didn't want to. So when I was visiting these cities, I remember once I flew into Barcelona or maybe it was Madrid, one of those cities. Um, I was just exhausted. I was jet lagged and I didn't want to leave my Airbnb. I just wanted to lay in bed and sleep. And every day I lay in bed and I slept, I felt guilty, which didn't decrease my like dissatisfaction in the moment. And it didn't increase my desire to get up and do stuff. I still didn't want to do stuff, but now I just felt bad about not doing stuff. And I realized that I was tired because I was doing too much. I didn't realize that till later on. But it was also like you have to be kind to yourself in this experience. It Some people look at it as like, oh, it's a year-long vacation. Every day is going to be a blast. But that's not what it is. It's just your life. There are going to be days where you're not going to want to like go out and go to six museums and eat at all these restaurants. You're just going to want to like lay in bed and watch Netflix and get food delivered. And that's okay. Like you have permission to do whatever you want. Give yourself that permission. Number 8 on the list of things I would do is I would let go of my need to know the back end. So one of the things that I kind of stressed about during this time is like, but what about when it's over? What am I going to be doing? Where am I going to be working? When am I going to be living? And because I was planning a 12-month break, even if I was going to give myself time to worry about that, it didn't need to be in the first few months, right? I could wait until the second half, right? I had 6 months to figure that out on the second half if I'm waiting till the second half. Um, I really started putting that into motion at like month 9. My plan, I started thinking about it around month 9, but I started like being concerned about it before I even left. And that's something that I see very common with the people that I talk to and that I coach through this process is it's like, well, what am I going to do when it's over? And it's like, you're a year out from your career break. Your career break is going to be a year. So you're 2 years away from what you're planning for. Like, let's dial it back a bit. Let's give ourselves permission to not be so invested in what's going to happen on the back end because 2 years from now is a really long time. You don't know what you're going to want to do. And that actually leads me into the 9th point, which is I would not expect to come back to the same life. When I left, I put all my things in storage and I was like, I'm going to come back to the same type of job. I'm going to come back to the same type of apartment. I'm going to come back to all the same things. I want my bed, the TV, all those things. I'm gone for a year, but I'm coming right back. I planned for things to be exactly the same, but it was on my break that I realized I didn't want anything to be the same. I wanted a whole new life. Like I went out, I explored, I saw what was out there, and I want more of that, the things I explored, than what I had before. And so I had planned for things to be exactly the same, and that held me back in some ways. Like I didn't sell, I could have sold my things and used some of that money to fund this experience, but I didn't. Instead, I put them all in storage, and I'm still to this day paying for storage, and it's 4 years later because I haven't been back there. So I need to go back there and clean it out. But I had planned for things to be exactly the same, and that's a mistake I made, and I also see other people making. All right, the last point, related to some of the previous points, is I would look at this as a fresh start, not a gap. That's what the main thing I think I would do differently if I was planning my career break now. I would say this isn't a career break. This is an opportunity for me to look at my priorities, for me to consider the life I want, for me to build a fresh start. Now, my fresh start might look like that old thing, right? Like it might actually look a lot like what I did before, but it might not. And so instead of framing it like a gap, what if I framed it as a fresh start? And I said, went into the went into it with the idea of like I can build whatever life I want. I didn't think about that until well into my career break. If I thought about it from the beginning, I think my planning would have been different, my experience would have been different, everything would have been different along the way because I would have been more open to the possibilities that the universe was bringing me. So if you take nothing else from this video, take that. Look at it as a fresh start, not a gap year. All right, if you're planning your own career break, I can help you in 3 different ways, and they are all below in the description. The first is that I have a free sabbatical planning guide. Grab it, use it to start your planning, use it to start thinking about what you need to do before you leave, what the experience on the road will be, all of those things. Take it, it's free, with love from me to you. Second way I could help you, I have a career break course called From Burnout to Bliss that is 12 modules. It really helps you know what you need to know and the things you might not know you need to know. But that's not my favorite part of it. My favorite part of it is the group coaching. We do a group coaching session every month, and the women in those sessions are just so magical. We get together, we support each other, we listen to each other's questions and use that to build our own experiences and our own plans. So if someone's thinking about like, how can I manage to do X, and you hadn't thought about X, now you're listening to this question and thinking like, oh, okay, what can I take from this? So our group coaching sessions are my favorite part, absolute favorite part of From Burnout to Bliss. And I would love it if you joined me there. But if you're like, I'm not a group coaching person, it's not for me. I also help people one-on-one in just one-on-one coaching, one-on-one support. So if you want to sit down with me for an hour and talk to me about what you're thinking, what is going through your head, if you want me to help you fill in the blocks, if you want me to check out your plan, I've been helping people with their career breaks for 4 years now. Yeah, it's wild. But I love helping people. So you can get that link in the description, sign up. I would love to see you. I'd love to help you. I hope this video was really helpful. I'll link to some more that are on the same career break topic in the description as well. And I'll catch you next time. Oh, have you subscribed? No? Have you given it a thumbs up? No? Go ahead and do that. And then I'll catch you next time. Bye.